Hello, fiber friends. My name is Kristen, and this is my digital diary podcast situation that I try to do at least once every month. Um, so I come to you from Baltimore County, Maryland, where I live with my partner and our dog, Nala. She's a golden retriever. And yeah, this generally follows the traditional podcast layout where I will talk about my finished objects, my works in progress, any acquisitions, future plans, and then sometimes I talk about books or spinning or gardening or baking. So if that interests you at all, please come hang out. I go by Knit and Craft on, the greater internet here, Instagram, TikTok. Those are generally the platforms that I post on. So, without further ado, let's get into what I'm wearing. Oh, also, it is Sunday, November 9th. So, hopefully, this goes out within that time frame. It's very dark and dreary outside here in Maryland. So, I'm using a lot of artificial light, and I hope that that's not going to do anything with the color saturation, but I will try and fix it in editing if it is. So what am I wearing is also a finished object. So I'll stand up and kind of show it off. Okay, so this is the Farnham tee by the Knit Purl Girl. I have been talking about this for literally months, and it is finally finished. So the last time you saw it, I needed to do the cuffs on the sleeves, both of the sleeves, and I needed to rip out the neckline and reknit it. So I did do that. I'm pretty happy with it. I do like how it still has that stripe detail. And then I did the ribbing, same as all of the other finishing. So, final thoughts. I really like this sweater. It has beautiful details, especially from the back. I really love this shoulder detail here. I'll pop in pictures so I don't have to contort my body and make weird sounds in the background. I really like it. I probably would not knit it again, only because I don't need another sweater that looks exactly like this. I would be interested in perhaps making the tee out of a different weight of yarn and a different fiber. I most likely would not use this yarn again for something for me. I've mentioned in the past that I'm extremely sensitive. The sun will give me a rash, like quite literally if I go out in the sun. Even if I have on sunscreen, it'll give me a rash. Grass, pollen, just in general. There's like dust floating. I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. It is what it is. And I'm hoping with washing, it will continue to soften up. Now, I still have not determined if I'm going to add length, and I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to give it an entire season, and then I'll decide, or I'll give it away. I do think that the yarn did soften up with blocking. I have not blocked it again since finishing it because I thought that would be ridiculous just for, 3 hems. So we'll give it a little bit. By doing this neck, I definitely did bring the sweater up a little bit. So it's a little bit shorter than it was, including on the sleeves. So it was like here before, and now it's here, which is bracelet length, and that's perfectly acceptable. I don't have an issue with it, especially with how tight they are. If they were a little bit more flared out, I'd want them, more on my hand down here. That's how I prefer it, but I'm happy with my finished object. It does fit me beautifully. I was worried about the size, but I really think that this amount of ease is just fine. I can tuck it into my high-waisted pants, and I think it's really, really wearable. So this is my first finished object, and I do have another one, so that's really exciting. Yarn for this will obviously be on the screen. You'll have already seen it. I'm so sorry for the dust that's just floating around. it's just from this sweater. It's just like flaking off all of these little tiny fibers. The yarn is Purl Soho Goodwool in the colors Heirloom White and Walking Stick. And yeah, I've talked about this yarn enough that I don't want to talk about it anymore. Moving on to my second finished object. I finished the Musselburgh hat that I have modified to be the Baltimore hat. So this is this side and this is this side. So I will maybe like cut it and put it on for you guys, but it takes me a second to like get it in. So let me do that really quick. I will put it on even though it's not for me. Okay, so this is the orange side and it's not made for me, so it looks massive. But I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think the duplicate stitch looks nice. Not my best work for sure, but not bad. So I'll flip it inside out. I'm gonna wear it with the purple side facing just because I prefer it with my complexion. Yeah, so I think this is really cute. My partner has like a way bigger head than I do, so he's actually wearing it more like this, which is cute because he's got a big head and it looks really nice on him. But I love how versatile it is. I'm gonna take this off. It's actually quite warm. It's perfect for football season. So it's perfect for football season. His birthday is on Thursday of this week. So even though it's not his birthday yet, he's already unofficially had this hat and he's really stoked on it. So that makes me super duper happy. I used Cascade Heritage. I'm sorry, I'm shaking the camera. I've used Cascade Heritage for all of this. I believe the colors are ultraviolet for the purple. This real black for the black, scrap white for the white, duplicate stitch, and then inside I did end up going with pumpkin. So all in all, really, really happy with this. And I would make another one of these for myself. Probably not with the orange, but I really love this purple and I think it looks really nice with my hair color. So definitely something that I will consider moving forward. And I love how small it is, so we can just fold it up and put it in our hat basket. And it won't take up very much space, even though it's a ton of yarn. It did take a really long time. I think it took me like of actual knitting time, I probably could have done it in about 2 weeks. But it took me like 6 months. So that's okay. It will be used in this season, and that's what matters. Works in progress. Let's start with the one that you've seen the most of, and that is the Pressed Flowers Cardigan by Amy Christoffers. I've talked about this one a lot. The last time you saw it, it just wasn't seamed together. And I was talking about ripping it out and making the armhole a little bit longer. So I did do that, even though I was dreading ripping out the mohair. And it definitely was a pain in the butt to do it, but only on the cast off stitches. So I did add a completely new repeat, like another repeat of this flower, and then I seamed it together. So if you can see that seam line, this is the way that I chose to do it. So if anybody is interested in knitting this, there are not specific instructions on how to seam the sides together. So I wish if I have a picture, I will share it, but essentially you cast off stitches in the corresponding colors. So like you'd cast off 9 stitches in the white on both sides, and then those would be seamed together. And then, because you're working back and forth, essentially short rows, but just at the very top. And then you cast off 11 stitches for my size in the brown. But then it just says seamed together. And so I was just going through the cast off stitches and mattress stitching it together. And what you got when you did that was bits of white when you cast off in white, and then bits of brown, and then white, and then brown. And that bothered me. So I was like, okay, what do I do? And what I determined was the best course of action was to, I'm not really sure what it's called, but when you go through one side and then the other side and back through, so it creates like a raised seam on the white ones, and then I was mattress stitching through the brown ones, and it kind of creates this seamless seam where it's all brown. If you stretch it, you can see where the white is. But I'm hoping it's not too noticeable. It was the best I could do. And I'm relatively happy with this seaming. So it is what it is. I've gotten to this point. I'm going to continue on this, even though I'm not giving it as a gift. I've woven in all the ends. I have blocked it. I did block it before I seamed it. Other than that, what else do I have to say about this? I am using, what am I using for yarn? Jill Draper Makes Stuff Barstow in the color Black Walnut is the main color brown. I'm holding that together with Barocco Ariel in their dark brown color. And then the white is Patagonia Organic Merino in the color light gray. It's coming along. I have not decided if I'm going to put on sleeves first or if I'm going to put on the button band. I dislike picking up stitches. It's kind of funny because I actually really do like small circumference knitting. I do a lot of soft knitting, so I have absolutely no issue knitting sleeves. It was the same for this. I just didn't want to pick up the stitches for the arm. Once they're picked up, I have zero issue actually knitting it. I don't know what the mental holdup is for me. I don't really have a good reason to dislike it. I just don't. And I always think it's going to take way more time than it does. And it does take a lot of time for me because generally I have to do it multiple times to make it look good. But everything on this I have done multiple times, so oh well. I'm going to show it to you close up so you can see the pattern. And then I'm going to put this away, and it's probably going to go in hibernation for a couple weeks while I work on other things. Mosaic knitting is not my favorite thing in the entire world, but I think it looks really nice, and I'm super happy with it. It's just a long-term project that I'm not putting a time constraint on. I would like to get it done by the end of the year because that would definitely help my stash numbers. I have not brought in a lot of yarn this year, like at all. I really haven't brought in a lot of yarn. Obviously when I bought 9 skeins for my Fidalgo test cardigan, that made my stash numbers go up like a lot. But I'm not negative for the year, and I have not factored in my Musselburgh hat yet. I have not done the weighing on that, so that may get me almost there, but no, it won't. I'm still going to be like 300 or 400 grams in the positive for the year, not where I want to be. I want to be stash negative. So I would like to get the pressed flowers cardigan done because that would definitely help my numbers, but it is what it is. I do have one more work in progress to show you, but I'll start with what you've already seen and then we'll switch gears a little bit. So last time we talked about my designing of socks. I briefly gave you an overview of what I have been, what my design portfolio kind of looks like. And then I'm so sorry, it's so dusty in here. I really apologize. It's driving me crazy. So I'm guessing it's driving you crazy too. Showed you kind of like the designs that I've already come up with. And then a new design that I've been working on. I've decided to call this my Check Yes Juliet sock. And this is where it was the last time you saw it. So this was a size 72 and I had this weird like seam line where it wasn't a perfect stitch count all the way around, so the checkerboards couldn't go all the way around, and I didn't like that. And then I was also kind of working through what I would do if someone didn't want ribbing on the foot. So this is what it was looking like. It was cute, but it wasn't exactly what I wanted. I told you guys I was going to cast on an 80 stitch sock because this was already too tight for me. Obviously, with ribbing, 2.25 needles, and mosaic, it makes it a little bit less stretchy than a normal sock. As you can see, that's the stretch. So I wanted to go up a size for myself, and that is what I did. So I cast on a completely new sock, and here she is. So this is size 80. It is the same size checks as what you see in this sock. So it's 8 stitches across for a check. And I love this. So it's a completely ribbed sock in this iteration. There's ribbing on the short row heel. And I don't know if you can see that, but it's really nice. I love this heel. Like I said, I did not come up with it. I think it's kind of like the Fish Lips Kiss heel, but I've never knit that. But you don't work all the way across the twin stitches. I don't know how else to explain it. You make double stitches, right? You make twin stitches, and then instead of working all the way across the twin stitches and having that line, you don't do that. You just knit the twin stitches as you come to them and then double the stitch. I did not explain that well. How else can I explain it? So as you come to a doubled stitch on the back side of the heel turn, you knit the twin stitch, you knit the next twin stitch, and then you twin that stitch and work across. If anybody knows what that heel is called, I would love to give credit to that person or that heel in my patterns, but I don't know where I got this from, or if I don't know. I really don't. So if you know what that kind of heel is, it is like the Fish Lips Kiss heel, but you don't knit all the way across, and you don't knit front side to rows. Let me know. Anyway, that was a tangent. Anyway, this is done. The toe is completely ribbed. What I did was I did it completely opposite of the way you normally would. So if you normally start with a slip slip knit on your toe, I started with a knit 2 together. So you get this cool line, and I'm not sure if that's what I'm going to keep, but I do really like it. I love the way this looks. Because it kind of, I don't know, it just goes in and out. I really love this. So this is the first iteration. I did write the pattern for this. This is what the sock pattern will be, right? Like, I want it to be a completely ribbed sock, but I respect that everybody has preferences, and in my designs, I want to accommodate as many people as humanly possible. So I did go ahead and knit a version where everything is stockinette on the heel, or on the sole of the foot. So the heel itself is completely knit. Same heel as this, it's just knit instead of ribbed. And then the foot is all knit too. So it's stockinette. You're doing this again with mosaic knitting. It is slip stitches on the heel. There's no way around it because you're only working with one color at a time. And then the toe is ribbed on the top and stockinette on the bottom. So what I think I'm going to do is make up the charts for this, because obviously the different sizes have different charts. So let me back up a little bit. This is a size 72. So if you look at these together, you'll notice that the size of the blocks is a little different. So, and that's because I needed it to go all the way around to not have this weird line that kind of breaks up the pattern and doesn't look that great, in my opinion. So what I did was, for sizes 56, 72, and 88, it's going to have this size block where it's 6 stitches across as opposed to 8 stitches across for this. Sizes 64 and 80 will have this size, and the other 3 sizes will have this size. And then obviously every size will have its own foot chart for the stockinette portion, or not stockinette, but for the plain knitting portion, the not ribbed portion, because everybody's going to have a different size check to make it go all the way around and be seamless. That was a lot of talking, but these are pretty much done. I am going to knit a completely colorwork version of this where it won't have the mosaic. It'll just be colorwork, and then I'll include those charts too, because why not? Everybody can have a party. And then I will most likely also include a alternate toe where you continue the pattern onto the toe if you so desire. I didn't do that at first because when I knit my sample, it was actually super involved and I thought it would be too complex to write it. But you know what? Whatever, I'm gonna do it anyway. So these are my check yes socks. I am pretty much done writing the pattern. I will be calling for testers in maybe 2 or 3 weeks, right around Thanksgiving probably. So what I do when I write a pattern is generally how I do it is I knit the first one, I write the pattern, and then I use the pattern to knit the second sock. So if it turns out, then I know I've done a good job, and if it doesn't, then back to the drawing board. So that's exactly what I will do. I will knit another sock exactly like this. This will be the sample that I use in the photos for the test call, and we'll go from there. If you're interested in being one of my testers, you can always DM me. Like I said last time, DM, email, carrier pigeon, whatever you need to do. I generally reply within days, like a day, 24 hours. Where does it come from? I just dusted my fan too, so like that is falling from the sky. Anyway, sorry. That's all I have for knitting works in progress. I don't have anything else going. I haven't cast on another sock. I would like to, wherever it is, I don't even know. It was right here. Anyway, I would like to get back to those socks of snow and pine. Oh, it's right here. Give me one sec. I'd like to get back to this. This is the next one I'm going to work on for sure. And I'm going to change this motif. And I don't know if I'm going to do twisted rib or not. Because I think I might actually like this motif, but do it in regular rib. I really don't know. So I'm going to play around with this. I'm going to do a lot of swatching. I don't generally swatch for garments, but I almost always swatch for the ideas in my head because I can't determine if I like it or not until I actually see it. When it's in my head, I love it, but then obviously it doesn't always work out like that. So that's next steps. I will go show you guys my acquisition. So bear with me and I'm going to go grab it. Okay, so I have 2 acquisitions. Both of them are books. This was my Acrylics book of the month from last month, the October. It came literally the day I filmed that podcast, or the day after, something like that. This is probably my least favorite that they've done since the first month, which is okay. I don't have to love everyone. It's not tickling my fancy, and that's okay. But this was the October Acrylics. I also pre-ordered Lilac's Library's special edition of Quicksilver because it really was nice. And I picked up this. So I know it's kind of ridiculous, but these are the gnomes in this book. And I have been admiring this designer on Ravelry for quite a while, but I don't have any of their patterns. And I believe they go by Imagine Landscapes on Ravelry. So that's what I know. Yeah, Imagine Landscapes. I know them of. And I think the gnomes are so cute. So this is going to perfectly segue into future plans. So, like always, I procrastinate on holiday knitting and then it just doesn't happen. My mom bought so if my mom is watching this, hey mom, don't leave unless you want your present spoiled, which you know I'm all about because I hate surprises, so feel free. My mom bought a gnome advent calendar. And as far as I understand, she was not super duper impressed with it. And I was like, well, I could make her gnomes. So, what I would like to do, and this is very, very, very adventurous, but I would like to make at least 12 gnomes. And then I would wrap them in individual boxes and then put them in a larger box. And it would be like an advent calendar. At least that's what I see in my head. And I think that would be super duper cute to have like 12 of them that she could open, and especially if they corresponded to the months of the year. So, whatever holiday is in that month, that would be that gnome. So, Christmas for December and Halloween for October. And then it would probably be a birthday gnome for November or Thanksgiving for November. Obviously, we would do Thanksgiving, but my birthday is also in November. It's on Wednesday of this week, so it's kind of funny because I have a birthday on Wednesday and then my partner has a birthday on Thursday. But I think of November as the birthday month, and forget that there's also Thanksgiving. There's a major holiday, so Thanksgiving in November, 4th of July in July, and kind of just use these gnome patterns as like a basis. I can also crochet, and I found some quite cute crochet gnomes. So I'm just gonna make them all different sizes, use scrap yarn, and get as many gnomes as I can done for this Christmas for her. So that's my acquisition and my future plan. Now, what other future plans do I have? Because I've been finishing a lot. Obviously, I'm going to continue designing. I'm in the design, like I got bit by the design bug. I really love those Check Yes socks, and I'm very excited to call for a test for them. I also really want to cast on something on my birthday, like a birthday cast on. I don't know what I'm going to cast on, but I do know that I have this yarn that has just been sitting. It is Scout by Kelburn Woolens. I have 6 skeins of this. It's a DK, and I think it's a DK. We're going to go with it's a DK. And I have an itch to cast this on for the Traveler hoodie, which I have already made. I don't need another Traveler hoodie, but I think it would be stunning in this color. And I know I could get gauge. Even though that pattern is written for sport, I'm a tight knitter. I could get gauge with this. So don't be surprised if I choose that. There's also a couple other things I can make with this. I can make the Midland cardigan, which is something I started, nearly finished, and then ripped out earlier this year. So I could make that. And I mean, obviously, there's a ton of things that I can make with DK weight yarn. I also made the double date sweater earlier this year. I loved it. And I think I could make another double date sweater using this and then just scrap yarn for the colors, or I don't know. This yarn is soft. It is bouncy. I think it would look incredible for color work, but I don't really want to buy any more yarn. So I don't want to go back and get contrasting colors of this yarn for a color work thing. I want to work with what I have. And above me, you can see what I have, just quite a bit. I don't know what I'm going to cast on for my birthday, if anything, but I would love a birthday cast on, and I would love to just work on it through the month of November and use these little gnomes as a breakup, because that will be on very small needles, most likely. My stash mostly consists of fingering weight yarn, so I will probably be using my 2.5 millimeter double points to make these gnomes. I will update you when I have more info. Most likely it will be December before I make another podcast. But in the meantime, we can talk about books. I have only read one book in the 2 weeks it's been since I last recorded, and I didn't read it with my eyeballs. I actually listened to an audiobook, which is not my preferred method of reading, but I was doing a ton of yard work outside, and it was just really nice to have an audiobook to listen to while I was working outside. I read, give me 1 second, there's a car alarm. I read A Lady's Guide to Fortune Hunting, A Lady's Guide to Fortune Hunting, and I believe that was by Sophie Irving, but I will put a picture on the screen so I don't get that wrong. It's the first book I've ever read by her. I'm not a big fan of like Regency era books, but it was, I guess, Bridgerton-esque, and it was so fun. There was like so much levity, so much brightness to it. The plot was laid out in front of your feet from like the very beginning, and you knew what was going to happen, but still the way that you got to the end was interesting, and it kept my attention. And I definitely did more yard work because I had the book to listen to. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great, and I would recommend it. I will definitely be listening or reading the other books by that author. And I believe there's one called A Lady's Guide to Scandal, and another one, How to Lose a Duke in 10 Days, I believe is the name of it. I don't know, but seems interesting. Not generally my cup of tea, but it was a really great break from what I've been reading, which has been a lot of dark romance, and it's been kind of heavy. While I love dark romance and I love reading about toxic relationships for whatever reason, even though it's not something I would accept in real life, I do find it quite fun in pretend life. So I like reading that, but it was a great, like, just reset. And now I think I'm gonna get into the mood of like a cozier book, maybe like more high fantasy versus the dark romance that I've been reading. I'm just ready for a switch, and this was the perfect reset point. So that's what I've been doing. Life stuff, everything's pretty much the same. Work is still crazy for me, and but my hairstylist is back from maternity leave, and she was able to do my hair. So we gave it a big chop, got like 5 or 6 inches off, and it feels and looks a lot better. So I really appreciate her. Anyway, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Thank you for listening to me chit chat about my project and what I'm doing. But I would love to hear from you. So please tell me what you guys are working on in the comments, or if you have any comments about my works in progress or what you think I should cast on with the Scout. I would love to hear from you. Just tell me about like what you guys are doing. I'm gonna say thank you again for hanging out with me. I hope that this week and the weeks ahead of you are filled with joy. I hope your crafting is bringing you peace and comfort, and I hope you get to cast on all of the things that you want to cast on. And yeah, bye guys.